Welcome back to part 3 of our spine-chilling journey through California's most haunted locations. If you've been following along, you've already had your fair share of ghost stories and creepy encounters. But let me assure you, the Golden State still has plenty of ghoulish surprises left in store. So grab your favorite ghost-repelling snack, salt, sage, garlic bread, whatever works, and let's dive back in. After this, you may never look at California the same way again. In this installment, we're cranking up the spooky factor. If you thought the spectral inhabitants of the last 2 parts were intense, wait until you hear about these restless spirits. From haunted theaters where the show must go on, even for ghosts, to eerie mansions with more history and hauntings than a horror movie marathon, this episode will have you questioning every creak in your house tonight. Fair warning, after this you might start sleeping with one eye open, or both eyes closed tightly and the lights on. For those of you who are new here, welcome to the madness. You might want to check out parts 1 and 2 if you want the full ghostly tour. But hey, no judgment if you like to jump straight into the middle of the nightmare, story. Just know that California isn't all sunshine, beaches, and celebrities. It's also full of shadows, spirits, and things that go bump in the night. And I'm not just talking about LA traffic. To our returning viewers, you're officially gluttons for punishment. Thanks for coming back for more. You've already survived ghostly apparitions, chilling tales, and some of my corny jokes. Your bravery, or morbid curiosity, is truly commendable. So get up, turn your EMF detectors to high, and prepare to be thoroughly creeped out as we continue our tour of California's haunted hotspots. And remember, if you hear whispers behind you while watching this video, it's probably just your imagination. Probably. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're loving these spooky vibes. Not only does it help the channel grow, but it also appeases the YouTube algorithm gods. And who knows, it might even keep a ghost or two from haunting your notifications. Plus, subscribing is way less terrifying than hearing disembodied footsteps in your hallway at 3 a.m., right? So, smash that button and join our ghost hunting crew. You don't even need a proton pack. Welcome to Screamville. The Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, located in Santa Cruz, California, is a popular seaside amusement park known for its vintage charm, thrilling rides, and vibrant atmosphere. However, beneath its lively exterior lies a reputation for being haunted, steeped in history, and local lore. Opened in 1907, the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk is one of the oldest amusement parks in California. It was established as a family-friendly destination and quickly became an iconic attraction. The park is home to historic rides like the Giant Dipper, a wooden roller coaster built in 1924, and the Loof Carousel, which dates back to 1911. The boardwalk has been a hub for entertainment and community gatherings, hosting concerts, events, and activities for over a century. Its location on Monterey Bay adds to its allure, offering stunning coastal views and a blend of natural beauty and human ingenuity. The 1987 cult classic, The Lost Boys, was partly filmed at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, cementing the location's place in pop culture and further amplifying its eerie reputation. In the movie, the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk served as the backdrop for the fictional town of Santa Carla, famously referred to as the murder capital of the world. This title added a sinister edge to the boardwalk's sunny, family-friendly image. The boardwalk is featured prominently in the film's opening scene, where the camera pans across the park's attractions at night, setting a mysterious and unsettling tone. One of the film's memorable early scenes involves the vampires stalking their victims near the Loof Carousel. The arcade and roller coaster serve as vibrant yet unsettling backdrops for interactions between the main characters and the vampire gang. The bright neon lights, bustling crowds, and carnival atmosphere of the boardwalk contrast sharply with the film's dark, vampiric themes, creating a perfect blend of horror and charm. The boardwalk's mix of old-school charm and coastal mystique made it an ideal setting for the film, providing a timeless and slightly eerie feel. Other movies filmed at the boardwalk include Clint Eastwood's Sudden Impact, Bumblebee, and Jordan Peele also filmed his horror movie there. Santa Cruz itself had developed a countercultural reputation in the 1980s, with an undercurrent of urban legends and strange occurrences, making it a fitting choice for a vampire tale. The connection between the Lost Boys and the boardwalk adds another layer to its haunted lore. Fans of the Lost Boys often visit the boardwalk to see filming locations, some hoping to experience a brush with the paranormal. After the movie's release, stories of vampire sightings and strange occurrences at the boardwalk began to surface, blurring the lines between fiction and folklore. Many scenes were shot after hours to capture the boardwalk's lights and atmosphere without the usual crowds. Local residents were used as extras in several scenes, adding authenticity to the setting. The movie turned the boardwalk into an iconic destination for horror fans and significantly boosted its visibility. Beneath the boardwalk, a network of maintenance tunnels exists, and they are rumored to be the site of strange occurrences. Workers have reported hearing disembodied voices, footsteps, and the sound of running water, even when no one else is around. Before the boardwalk, the area was home to the Neptune Baths, a Victorian-era bathhouse. Some believe that spirits from this time linger, particularly in areas where remnants of the baths are integrated into the park. The Giant Dipper is not only an iconic wooden roller coaster, but also a hotspot for ghostly activity. Guests and employees have reported seeing shadowy figures, feeling cold spots, and hearing unexplainable noises. Riders have claimed to hear faint whispers and laughter near the carousel, even when no one is nearby. The nearby beach has its own tales of ghostly sightings. Some report seeing figures walking along the shoreline at night, vanishing into the mist. These are believed to be spirits of those who perished in the waters over the decades. Santa Cruz has a history of shipwrecks and drownings, with some tying these tragedies to the hauntings. The spirits of lost sailors and victims of accidents are said to roam the area. Maintenance workers have experienced tools moving on their own, unexplained mechanical malfunctions, and feelings of being watched while working alone. Guests have shared encounters with ghostly children laughing or crying, particularly around older attractions like the carousel. Several paranormal groups have investigated the boardwalk and its surrounding areas, capturing EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and documenting strange energy spikes. The haunting reputation of the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk can be attributed to its long history, proximity to the ocean, a common site for folklore and legends, and the tragic events that have occurred in the area. Whether it's the spirits of those tied to the bathhouse era, residual energy from accidents, or simply urban legend, the stories persist, adding an eerie layer to the boardwalk's charm. Once known as Amargosa, meaning bitter water in the Paiute language, not the best Yelp review for a town, this pint-sized spot in the Mojave Desert now boasts a population you could count on one hand. It started as a borax mining community, and while most of the action has faded, a few historic structures still hang around, including the Amargosa Hotel and Opera House, which welcome visitors brave enough to wander into this desert relic. Long before miners showed up, local indigenous tribes made use of the area. But in the 19th century, prospectors and settlers rolled in, kicking up more dust than activity. Things got official in 1907 when a post office opened and the name changed to Death Valley Junction, because apparently bitter water wasn't intimidating enough. For a while, it remained a ghost town in the making, until 1914 when the Pacific Coast Borax Company decided to spice things up by building the Death Valley Railroad. This narrow-gauge line ferried borax, the miracle cleaner of its time, from Ryan, California to the junction, covering 20 miles of sun-scorched nothingness. The railroad also connected to the Tonopah and Tidewater Railroad, creating a gold rush-era business synergy long before Silicon Valley made it cool. At first, the town was a tent city straight out of a Wild West Instagram filter. Tent hotels, tent saloons, tent stores, you name it, they tented it. But when new mines popped up in the area, the locals decided to swap their glorified camping trip for something more permanent. Buildings sprouted, milling facilities cropped up, and the junction transformed into a social hub for folks scattered across the desert. For a brief, glittering moment, it was the place to be for borax barons and desert dreamers alike. Death Valley Junction's rail service chugged along until 1940, when most of the locals decided they'd had enough and skipped town. Even the post office threw in the towel, forcing remaining residents to fetch their mail from Furnace Creek Ranch, 30 miles away. Talk about a commitment to junk mail. By 1962, the area gave post offices another shot, reopening under its old name, Amargosa. But the real shakeup came in 1967, when Marta Beckett, a New York ballet dancer, mime, artist, and actress, had a literal flat moment. While on a Death Valley camping trip with her husband, their trailer tire went flat. Directed to Death Valley Junction by a helpful ranger, Marta stumbled upon a rundown adobe theater and had what can only be described as a Hollywood meet-cute with a building. Peering through a hole in the door, she felt destiny calling. "Take me," the theater seemed to whisper. No, it wasn't a romantic drama. It was Marta meeting her creative soulmate. Without hesitation, she and her husband rented the theater for the bargain price of $45 a month, which probably cost less than her Broadway costumes. Renaming it the Amargosa Opera House, Marta performed her first show in 1968 to a crowd of 12. As visitors were scarce in the early days, Marta decided if no one else was going to fill the seats, she'd create her own audience, literally. Over 4 years, she painted elaborate murals of kings, queens, gypsies, and more. By the time she was done, the opera house looked like a royal gala where no one ever needed a bathroom break. The theater slowly gained fame, and donations rolled in. Chairs were upgraded, and the ghost town saw new life. Marta even bought the town with help from a San Francisco trust. However, life wasn't all smooth sailing. Her husband left, but comedian Tom Willett joined the show, proving ghosts weren't the only quirky characters around. Speaking of ghosts, Death Valley Junction is more spirited than a Halloween costume store. Marta's co-star Tom Willett is said to haunt the theater, sitting in the audience as a spectral critic. A phantom cat has also made its presence known, interrupting shows, presumably demanding its own spotlight. The unfinished hotel section, affectionately called Spooky Hollow, has plenty of eerie tales too. Room 24 boasts a crying ghost child, possibly the spirit of a girl who tragically drowned in 1967. Room 32 has a cranky vibe, allegedly tied to a mining boss who met a grim end. And Room 9, well, that's where unseen forces hold down guests' legs, because why let them sleep peacefully? In the dining room, phantom chatter often echoes, and shadows perform their own ghostly dances across the stage. Other paranormal perks include lilac scents wafting through rooms, spontaneous showers, great for water conservation, and guests bolting in the middle of the night. Room 24 of the Amargosa Hotel is a real tearjerker, literally. Guests have often reported hearing the sounds of a crying child at night, despite there being no children on the guest list. It's rumored to be the ghost of a young girl who tragically drowned in a bathtub in 1967. Meanwhile, Room 32 is the hotel's version of a hard pass. This room gives off such malevolent vibes that even thrill seekers might think twice about bunking there. It's said to have been the hangout of a mining boss back in the Borax days, and not the kind of boss who hands out Christmas bonuses. With a hanging thrown into its dark history, this room could use some serious feng shui. And then there's Room 9, the heavyweight champ of hauntings. If you're into sleep paralysis but want a ghostly twist, this room's got you covered, literally. Guests have reported feeling their legs and feet pinned down while snoozing. Add to that the occasional doorknob jiggling, phantom giggling, and the sound of tiny feet sprinting down the hallway. And you've got yourself a sleepover straight out of your nightmares. In the dining room, things get conversational. Guests have heard the chatter of what sounds like a dinner party, complete with a woman's high-pitched voice. Unfortunately, the ghostly crew never seems to invite anyone to join. Other ghostly quirks include mysterious noises in the walls, termites or tortured souls, shadowy figures pirouetting across the stage, phantom footsteps in the halls, the sudden scent of lilacs, bonus points if you're allergic, and showers that take the liberty of turning on by themselves. Talk about an aggressive water-saving initiative. Unsurprisingly, many guests decide the middle of the night is the perfect time for an impromptu checkout. So if you're staying here, keep your bags packed. You might be running faster than the ghost kids in the hallway. The Opera House has been the site of numerous ghost hunts. Paranormal investigators have captured mysterious EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, and unexplained fluctuations on EMF meters. Whether it's Marta, her audience, or former miners wandering through, something or someone is definitely sticking around. The Stevenson House, a gem under the care of the California Department of Parks and Recreation, is like stepping into a historical time machine with a literary twist. It's been spruced up to its former splendor, showcasing 2 rooms dedicated to the legendary Robert Louis Stevenson, author and professional wanderer. Upstairs you can spy on the past lives of the Girardin family, who turned this adobe into the French Hotel. Hats off to them for their entrepreneurial spirit, turning a humble abode into a thriving hotel that served Monterey for years. Downstairs, you'll find two rooms brimming with artifacts from the house's star guest, Robert Louis Stevenson himself. It's almost as if he popped out for a stroll and might return any minute, or maybe not. Ghost stories, anyone? Thanks to his family's generosity, California now houses a treasure trove of his belongings, delighting visitors since the museum's grand opening in the 1940s. The Stevenson House gardens are a slice of heaven on earth. Overflowing with vibrant flowers and lush greenery, they're perfect for peaceful meditation or simply escaping the madness of the modern world. Pro tip, grab a coffee, find a bench, and let the serenity wash over you. Gardens open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., so no excuses. The house itself is a two-story adobe marvel, with origins tracing back to the 1830s when Mexico said adios to Spain. Initially built for the custom general, think 19th century VIP, it later served an eclectic roster of residents, including families, government officials, artists, writers, and fishermen. Talk about versatility. Then there's the Girardin family. What a roller coaster of a life story. Juan Girardin, a Swiss immigrant with French roots, made the brave leap to Mexico with his family, chasing dreams of a better life. But life threw curveballs. Juan's first wife passed away, and tragedy struck again when his son and daughter-in-law died in an accident, leaving their two kids in his care. Despite these hardships, Juan and his second wife Manuela turned the house into a booming business, the French Hotel, Monterey's hotspot for weary travelers. So whether you're a history buff, a garden enthusiast, or just a fan of Stevenson's literary genius, the Stevenson House has a story or several to share. The year 1879 was a rough one for the Girardin family, and by rough, we mean disastrous on an epic scale. Typhoid fever came barreling through Monterey like an uninvited guest, and poor Juan Girardin caught it. He passed away on July 1st, 1879. As if that weren't enough, his two grandchildren fell ill shortly after. Their grandmother Manuela devoted herself to nursing them back to health, but typhoid wasn't done yet. Manuela also succumbed to the disease on December 21st, 1879. Miraculously, the kids bounced back from all this heartbreak and typhoid drama to live happy, productive lives. Unfortunately, they didn't get to tell their devoted grandma thank you, since she passed before their recovery. After this streak of tragedy, the French Hotel wasn't exactly a hot property on Zillow, that is, until a guy named Siono swooped in and bought it for pocket change. He kept it running as a boarding house, which is where a penniless, tuberculosis-stricken Robert Louis Stevenson entered the picture. Stevenson crashed there rent-free in 1880, thanks to his generous friends. Far from sulking about his misfortune, Stevenson made the most of his stay. He wrote the story Old Pacific Capital, and even managed to woo his future wife, Fanny Osborne. Rumor has it that his walks around Monterey, especially near Monte de Oro Beach, sparked the idea for Treasure Island. So basically, Monterey gets partial credit for pirates and buried treasure. Apparently, the second floor of the Stevenson House has a special guest who simply refuses to check out. It seems Manuela Girardin, forever devoted, has decided to make the place her eternal Airbnb. And who can blame her? The upstairs was dedicated to her family during the restoration, so she's probably just claiming her rightful spot. Word on the spectral street is that she's not alone. There may be other spirits crashing the party, each with their own unresolved issues. Restoring a house, as it turns out, is like ringing a bell for spirits with unfinished business. The fresh paint, polished floors, and lovingly placed period furniture apparently scream, "Come haunt me," and haunt it they did, right after the house got its facelift. Manuela especially felt right at home, reliving her last days and catching up on all the modern-day drama. In 1879, when Manuela's grandchildren fell ill with typhoid fever, she nursed them tirelessly. Sadly, she succumbed to the illness herself without knowing if the kids survived. Spoiler alert, they did. Now Manuela seems to keep tabs on the house's happenings, sometimes even joining historical society speeches like a front-row fan. One speaker swears they saw her standing in the nursery, casually listening, before taking a seat in a rocking chair. That's right, Manuela isn't just haunting, she's multitasking. Manuela's December appearances are her busiest time of year. During the first 3 weeks, visitors have reported seeing the nursery rocking chair moving on its own, smelling 19th century disinfectant, carbolic acid anyone, and feeling a phantom hand giving them a gentle back rub. She's also known for dragging trunks across the floor, because apparently even ghosts can't resist rearranging furniture and leaving behind the smell of roses. Oh, and she's picky about her books, occasionally yanking ones she doesn't like off the shelves. Manuela's love for children is legendary, even in the afterlife. One boy, about 7, had a casual chat with her while waiting for his family during a tour. Dressed in a long black gown and white shawl, she seemed friendly enough, until she pulled the ultimate ghost move and vanished mid-conversation. To his credit, the kid took it all in stride. Curator Barbara has also had her fair share of Manuela moments. While closing the museum one evening, Barbara saw a woman in a long black dress standing by the children's bed, staring intently. When asked to leave, the woman nodded politely before disappearing like a courteous apparition. It's moments like these that make you wonder if Manuela's just a regular mom in ghostly disguise, keeping an eye on the kids and tidying up her house. So if you're visiting the Stevenson house and feel a calming touch on your shoulder, smell roses, or see a ghostly lady in black, don't panic. It's just Manuela making sure her family legacy stays intact, one spectral guest appearance at a time. Now let's talk about the spirit of the little girl. Is it Manuela's granddaughter? Or maybe just a pint-sized ghost looking for the best playroom in town? Either way, a playful little spirit has been spotted, tinkering with the nursery toys. Just when witnesses think they're about to join her tea party, she pulls the ultimate magic trick and fades into thin air. Talk about ghosting with flair. Visitors have also reported seeing green orbs zipping around the room like glow-in-the-dark fireflies. Who knows? Maybe it's the little girl's way of upgrading her toy collection to include some supernatural light shows. If you ever see what looks like a shadowy figure auditioning for a medieval horror movie in a long black robe and hood, congratulations. You've met the spirit with a blurry face. This mysterious floater has been spotted gliding through the second-story rooms and hallways, looking like it got lost on its way to a spooky Renaissance fair. Could it be an old tenant, or just a ghost who's really into dramatic fashion? Let's not forget the house's less glamorous haunt, the disembodied coffer. Visitors to the second floor often hear someone hacking away like they've been trapped in a 19th century sickroom commercial. Is it a leftover echo from Manuela's typhoid days, or just a ghost with an eternal cold? Either way, it's proof that even spirits can't escape cold and flu season. So whether you're into spooky toys, mysterious green orbs, or coughing phantoms, the second floor of this house has a little something for every ghost enthusiast. Just remember to bring tissues. Ghosts apparently don't cover their mouths. The spirits connected to this house clearly enjoy sticking around, whether it's for nostalgia or some ghostly to-do list they can't seem to finish. Maybe they're still debating where to put the nursery trunks or searching for that one book they hated. For the past 78 years, the star of the ghostly show has been Manuela Girardin. She's been spotted everywhere from the nursery to the lecture room, looking as solid and lifelike as anyone, until she decides to Houdini herself out of sight. Friendly and approachable, she's more like the unofficial museum greeter than a typical haunting. Visitors even seem to accept her as part of the staff, right up until she vanishes mid-conversation. But it's not just Manuela. Other spirits and paranormal shenanigans have been noted too. Despite the ghostly buzz, paranormal investigators are strictly not invited. The museum prefers to keep the focus on history and Robert Louis Stevenson, not on chasing orbs or interrogating phantom coffers. So if you're here for historical charm and a side of friendly specters, welcome. But if you're lugging an EMF reader and a ghost hunting camera, you might want to think twice. After all, the spirits are here for the ambience, not for your YouTube channel. Meaning beautiful view, ironic given its spooky reputation, Linda Vista Hospital is a former medical center in Los Angeles, California. Originally, it was the go-to hospital for employees of the Santa Fe Railroad and was first known as the Santa Fe Coastlines Hospital. But with all the death, disease, and suffering it witnessed, Beautiful View might have been more of a wishful name. Fast forward to today, and the building is now an assisted living facility called Hollenbeck Terrace, still seeing people's stories come to their final chapters. Back in its heyday, it was one of LA's oldest hospitals, serving early residents and the hard-working railroad crews determined to connect the coasts, likely while muttering, "I literally can't," about those massive steel tracks. While the hospital officially closed its doors years ago, the spirits? Oh, they've apparently stayed behind to clock in some overtime. Ghost stories swirl about the place like LA smog, making it a must-see for paranormal fans, if you can survive the legendary LA traffic, of course. Originally opened in 1905, Linda Vista Community Hospital wasn't just any hospital. It came with its own cows, chickens, and gardens, because nothing says state-of-the-art care like fresh eggs with your surgery. The Moorish-style building, designed by Charles Whittlesey, was so successful that it expanded into an entire campus. Eventually, the hospital got a 1930s facelift and a new name, Linda Vista Community Hospital. By the 1970s, though, the glory days were over. Railroad workers started ditching the hospital for mainstream insurance policies, probably so they could stop explaining why their health care came with a side of farm chores. Add to that the financial hits of the Great Depression and World War II, and Linda Vista found itself in a slow decline, much like a patient waiting too long to call a doctor. Seeing the writing on the wall, and probably some unpaid invoices, the Santa Fe Railroad decided to offload Linda Vista Hospital to a healthcare company in 1980. But things didn't exactly improve. According to a California Health Law News report, as Linda Vista tried to cut costs, its death rate spiked, proving that cheaping out on healthcare isn't exactly a winning strategy. During this time, the hospital found itself in the middle of East LA's gang violence epidemic, treating an influx of gunshot wounds and stabbings. As if things couldn't get worse, doctors and nurses started jumping ship for greener pastures, or at least hospitals without leaky roofs. By 1991, Linda Vista had flatlined and officially closed its doors, leaving behind a legacy of spooky stories and questionable decisions. But the story didn't end there, because what's a haunted hospital without a ghostly sequel? Decades after its closure, the building became a hotspot for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts as rumors of eerie happenings spread. In 2006, Linda Vista Hospital was added to the National Register of Historic Places, making it one of the fanciest haunted places in the area. And if ghosts weren't enough, Hollywood came knocking. Post-closure, Linda Vista became a filming location for movies and TV shows, including Addams Family Values, The Longest Yard, Children of the Corn, Isaac's Return, and Fatal Beauty. Nothing screams authentic horror like using an actual haunted hospital as your set. From 1985 to 2015, it played host to countless productions, especially horror films. Honestly, the crew probably didn't need much acting to look scared when the ghosts started freelancing in the background. Speaking of ghosts, Linda Vista's haunted reputation grew thanks to reports from film crews and actors. Darting shadows, phantom cries, and disembodied humming were just some of the eerie phenomena. Some people even claimed to be touched or shoved by invisible forces, likely earning them hazard pay. 3 spirits in particular are said to haunt the hospital: a child lurking in the surgical room, a young woman pacing the third-floor hallways, probably late for a ghost meeting, and an orderly who's apparently still making rounds long after retirement. Years after Linda Vista Hospital flatlined, some chilling allegations surfaced, claims of patient abuse that had been swept under the proverbial hospital rug. No investigations were ever conducted into these reports filed by family members. Could this mistreatment be the reason why some spirits decided to extend their hospital stays indefinitely? Talk about a bad Yelp review from beyond the grave. Among the paranormal lineup, 3 ghostly regulars seem to steal the spotlight. First, there's a little girl who tragically died on the operating table, and now spends her afterlife haunting the surgical room, probably waiting for an apology. Then there's the spectral orderly who passed away unexpectedly during his rounds. True to his work ethic, he continues checking rooms like he's still punching the clock. Finally, there's the mysterious young woman pacing the third-floor hallways. Maybe she's searching for her room key, or a way to avoid LA traffic in the afterlife. Since the hospital's closure, ghost hunters have flocked to Linda Vista with night vision cameras and high hopes of catching something spooky on film. Thanks to its history of untimely deaths and tragic tales, it's become a go-to haunt for the paranormal crowd. But don't be fooled. This isn't your average ghost safari. The land where Linda Vista once stood has been transformed into a senior living facility. So unless you have a valid reason to visit Nana, wandering around looking for ghosts might not end well. Nobody wants to be that person who gets escorted out for ghost hunting near Grandma's bingo night. Even though the hospital is no longer abandoned, it remains a hot topic for locals, ghost enthusiasts, and urban explorers. With its mix of controversy and paranormal intrigue, Linda Vista Hospital is proof that Los Angeles' history has a darker side, one layered with as much smog as spooky vibes. Have you ever braved the grounds of this place or spoken with someone who has? Maybe the residents of the senior care facility have a few ghost stories of their own. After all, they're living on the original property. Imagine getting haunted while watching your daytime soaps. Now that's entertainment. La Casa de Estudio is no ordinary house. It's a U-shaped, 13-room adobe mansion with walls so thick, 3 to 5 feet. They could probably survive a mild earthquake and a zombie apocalypse. Its massive, whitewashed adobe brick walls rest on a cobble foundation, and the roof is an architectural patchwork of rustic log rafters, cane mats, and fired tiles. Basically, Pinterest-worthy rustic charm, 19th century edition. At the heart of it all, a picturesque courtyard garden and fountain that screams, "Instagram me." Walking into La Casa de Estudio is like stepping into a history book with 3D glasses. Think of this as the 1800s version of your living room, if your living room also hosted grand parties, formal dinners, and impromptu waltzes. The wooden floor is dance-ready, and the pièce de résistance is a Steinway piano that journeyed around Cape Horn in 1853 to join the Estudillo family. Talk about dedication to interior design. Captain Estudillo Sr. himself greets you via a portrait on the wall, giving off strong master-of-the-house vibes. Conveniently next to the sala for when all that dancing gets too much. The master bedroom features tile floors with area rugs, because bare tile, too cold for midnight snack runs. It's decked out with a canopy bed, rocking chair, nightstand, and sofa, a historical version of comfort and luxury. It also has Spanish-style hallways. These elegant corridors guide you to various bedrooms with a flair that whispers, "This way to class and culture." At the chapel, in a room with 0 windows, perfect for blocking distractions, the family could pray, reflect, and host visiting priests. It's a slice of divine history, showcasing what an authentic home chapel looked like before TikTok made Zen corners trendy. In the workroom is where the magic, or the laundry, happened. This was the domain of hardworking servants who kept the household running. No Instagram-worthy aprons, just grit and dedication. In the dining room sits treasures from California's thriving hide and tallow trade of the 1830s. Picture high-quality china, glassware, carpets, and furniture that screamed, "We're fancy!" It's a glimpse into how trade turned the frontier into a civilized society, proof that good tableware is always in style. La Casa de Estudio isn't just a house, it's a journey into another era, complete with all the drama, charm, and impeccable taste of 19th century California living. La Casa de Estudio didn't start as just any house. It began its life as a grand adobe mansion, the kind of place that would have made HGTV jealous, if HGTV had existed in the 1800s. It all kicked off when Captain Jose Maria de Estudio, commander of the San Diego Presidio, decided to build a dream home for his wife and kids. Starting in 1827, he began crafting this fine adobe estate. By 1829, the mansion was complete, but sadly, he passed away in 1830. Luckily, his son, Jose Antonio Estudillo, stepped up and thought, "Why stop at grand? Let's go for grander." He kept adding onto the house to make room for his ever-growing family, extended relatives, and probably a few unexpected guests who just needed a place to crash. Jose Antonio wasn't just a prolific builder. He was also the ultimate multitasker. During his life, he served as revenue collector, treasurer, alcalde, and judge of San Diego under the Mexican flag. Then, when the American flag started waving, he added treasurer and assessor of San Diego County to his resume. Oh, and he also managed to raise 7 sons and 5 daughters. Clearly, he wasn't a fan of idle time. By the time he was done, the house had transformed from an L shape into a full U shape, complete with a gorgeous courtyard garden in the center. Its 13 rooms weren't just functional. They were the epitome of 19th century luxury, perfect for hosting extended family and making visitors feel like royalty. The Estudillo family didn't just live in this house, they turned it into a hub of social and political activity. In its heyday, La Casa de Estudillo was the place to be, earning its reputation as one of the finest homes in Mexican California. From the 1830s to 1856, it doubled as both a town chapel and a school. That's right, multi-purpose real estate long before co-working spaces were a thing. The family's generosity extended beyond entertaining. In 1850, tragedy struck when 9 children from their extended family were left orphaned. Jose and his wife, Maria Victoria Dominguez, didn't hesitate. They took all 9 in and raised them alongside their own brood. After Jose passed in 1852, Maria kept the family together, proving she could handle motherhood and management like a boss. The Estudillos called La Casa home for 3 generations until 1887, when they decided to pack up and move to Los Angeles to live on a big ranch. They left their beloved adobe mansion in the hands of a caretaker, who apparently thought caretaker meant let's sell the parts. Doors, windows, tiles, nothing was safe. By 1908, the once grand estate was practically a haunted ruin. Enter Nat R. Titus and John D. Spreckles, heroes with a soft spot for historic architecture. They swooped in to save the day, and Spreckles hired architect Hazel W. Waterman to restore the mansion. Thanks to their efforts, La Casa de Estudillo was revived, its adobe charm shining once again, ready for visitors to marvel at its walls, its history, and its knack for surviving caretakers with sticky fingers. La Casa de Estudillo has lived quite the dramatic second act, reinventing itself as Ramona's marriage place, inspired by Helen Hunt Jackson's swoon-worthy 1884 novel, Ramona. The idea was simple. Why not cash in on literary romance and host actual weddings? To seal the deal, they planted palm trees, succulents, citrus trees, and enough desert-friendly plants to make a botanist blush. Voila! Instant romance garden. Couples could tie the knot surrounded by lush greenery and the faint aroma of oranges, all while pretending they were starring in their own 19th century love story. But La Casa de Estudillo wasn't content with just playing wedding venue. Over the years, it moonlighted as a fort, a government office, an orphanage, a hotel, a church, and a private residence. Talk about a house with range. Finally, in 1968, it found its true calling as a museum when its owner, Mr. Legler Benbow, donated it to the state of California. At last, the old adobe got a well-deserved retirement. Sort of. Now it spends its days showing visitors what life might have been like between 1830 and 1887. Keyword, might. Nobody kept receipts on the furniture. Speaking of furniture, the National Society of Colonial Dames of America stepped in to sprinkle the place with authentic period pieces, blending Spanish and Victorian styles from the 16th to 20th centuries. So, while we may not know exactly how the Estudillos decorated, the museum at least offers a historically accurate vibe, part chic hacienda, part Victorian Pinterest board. Some people love their homes or favorite social hangouts so much that they just can't leave, even after checking out of the mortal realm. These nostalgic spirits sometimes hang around to relive cherished memories or even lend a spectral hand to the living, though their version of help can be creative. The museum staff at La Casa de Estudillo have seen plenty of ghostly activity from these fond residents. These spirits make their presence known by doing the things they enjoyed in life, just in a more transparent way now. But it's not all parties and nostalgia. Some spirits stick around for deeper, more poignant reasons, like finding comfort in the place where they experienced loss or tragedy. If their loved ones stay behind too, it's a chance to finally spend some quality time together that life cruelly cut short. Among the mansion's spectral guests are a sad Victorian woman and a child who might be attached to each other, perhaps a mother and child reunited in the afterlife, their outfits as timeless as their bond. Then there's the grouchy, no-nonsense spirit who seems to have declared themselves the mansion's nighttime security detail. Some spirits adopt a structure like it's their personal fortress, and woe to anyone who disrespects it. This might stem from bitterness toward the living. After all, it was humans who let the place fall apart in the first place. These spirits often scold, surprise, or downright spook people who don't follow their unwritten house rules. Think of it as paranormal tough love. Sometimes a spirit is someone who feels they failed in their duties during life or contributed to the building's decline. Overwhelmed by guilt or frustration, they stick around trying to make amends, often with a dash of grumpiness. Maybe they're hoping their spectral community service will earn them some peace, or maybe they've just decided to go full ghostly hall monitor mode. Either way, they're not clocking out anytime soon. La Casa de Estudillo's spirits may have their quirks, but one thing's for sure, they're not afraid to make their feelings known. La Casa de Estudillo isn't just a museum, it's home to a colorful cast of spectral characters who never let death cramp their style. From grumpy ghosts to dancing spirits, here's the who's who of the afterlife here. The crabby curmudgeon. This grouchy male entity has a serious chip on his ghostly shoulder. He's got no time for religion, children, or paranormal investigators poking around after dark. The sad Victorian lady, draped in Victorian attire, this melancholic female spirit haunts the mansion, often seen gazing mournfully at the living. She's the resident drama queen. But hey, heartbreak is eternal. The gentleman vaquero. Dressed to impress in his vaquero outfit, this dashing male spirit occasionally tips his hat to staff and investigators. A ghost with flair. The white unshirted wanderer. This fellow prefers the back wall of the home, rocking a period-style white shirt. Whether he's shy or just antisocial, nobody knows. Tall, dark, and transparent. A towering male entity has made cameo appearances, spotted by investigators in 1999 and again by a psychic in 2003. He's the strong, silent type. The Mirror Squad. Some ghosts are camera shy, but not these folks. They love popping up in mirrors for a good scare. Staff have seen faces staring back when they were alone. The monk in the hall. Draped in a brown monk's robe, this solemn figure haunts the Spanish-style hallways, especially near the old chapel room. Who says monks can't be mysterious? The little rocker. This young Victorian girl loves her tiny rocking chair and happily spends her afterlife swaying back and forth. A forever kid with forever vibes. La Casa's spirits love a good tune, even if their taste is eclectic. Staff have heard phantom music wafting through the halls, courtesy of ghostly DJs. A music box in one room has been known to open and play all on its own, as if to say, "Don't touch, just listen." Spectral dancers have been seen waltzing across the floor, reliving their glory days. Because why bother with legs? A male torso has been spotted casually floating above the living room sofa, proving that even ghosts know how to relax. During a 2015 visit, a medium named Valerie and her colleague felt a cold spot in the chapel and caught a whiff of rose perfume. Coincidence? Rose certainly doesn't think so. From mischievous antics to sentimental appearances, La Casa de Estudio's ghostly residents ensure this historic mansion never has a dull moment or a quiet night. In 1988, Riverside Press assembled a crack team of ghost hunters to investigate Casa de Estudio after hours, normally the living stick to daylight hours, leaving the adobe mansion to its spectral residents by night. But this time, the researchers decided to crash the ghost's private party, and the spirits were not having it. During the investigation, the team encountered an angry entity who was clearly fed up with uninvited guests. Brilliant red flashes of light zapped through the air, and a photographer learned the hard way why you don't mess with the afterlife. The unseen spirit shattered the camera lens. Talk about making a statement. Fast forward to 2003, when Chad Patterson of CSGR conducted another investigation, this time during the more ghost-friendly hours of noon to 1:30 p.m. Psychic Virginia Marco joined the team and casually picked up on multiple entities. In the master bedroom doorway leading to the chapel, Virginia confirmed the presence of a tall man, echoing Chad's 1999 encounter, where he felt someone looming behind him and caught a shadowy figure out of the corner of his eye. In 2015, Stephen from Neighbors Pim took an informal walkthrough of Casa de Estudio. He went to pay his admission fee, only to find a docent who seemed oddly lifelike. So lifelike, in fact, that he pulled out his wallet, only for her to vanish when the docent arrived. Turns out this ghostly lady was just holding down the fort until her living counterpart returned. Ghosts, they multitask. That same year, psychic medium Valerie got a front row seat to the angry entity's bad attitude. In the courtyard, he made it abundantly clear he wasn't a fan of children or nuns, even trying to convince Valerie to harm them. Thankfully, Valerie declined. The entities here have a flair for the dramatic and a penchant for the territorial. While some ghosts are happy to share their home during museum hours, they draw a hard line at nighttime visitors, especially researchers. If you step on their ghostly toes, expect flashes of light, broken equipment, and maybe even a whispered "get out." The roster is as eclectic as it is mysterious. Likely candidates include members of the De Estudillo family, a priest, a cowboy, a child, a sad woman named Rose, another sad woman, because one wasn't enough, a crabby man who probably served as the house's caretaker. The older sections of the adobe, like the master bedroom, the chapel, and its doorway, are hotbeds of activity. But don't discount the living room or the children's room, where a playful child spirit might still be hanging out. As for the grouchy male entity, He's like a spectral bouncer, fiercely protecting his turf and not shy about showing his disdain for anyone who doesn't meet his standards. Lesson learned? Don't mess with a ghost who takes his afterlife job seriously. Well, that's it for part 3 of our haunted tour through California. We've explored everything from cranky spirits chucking cameras to ghostly caretakers who take their job way too seriously. California isn't just the land of Hollywood dreams and sun-soaked beaches, it's also crawling with things that go bump in the night. And let's be honest, some of these spirits are more dramatic than a daytime soap opera. If you've ever been to California and seen something spooky, whether it was a ghost, a UFO, or just someone trying to parallel park in San Francisco, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories and maybe feature them in a future video. Who knows, maybe your paranormal tale will end up as the next big feature in our haunted series. And hey, don't leave me haunting the comment section alone. Hit that like button. It's like an offering to the YouTube algorithm gods, and trust me, they're just as picky as the ghosts we've been talking about. Plus, it helps the channel grow so I can keep bringing you more spine-tingling stories from the Golden State and beyond. If you're not already subscribed, now's the time. Join our ghost hunting gang because there's plenty more eerie content coming your way. Click that bell too, you don't want to miss it when we dive into even more haunted locations, mysterious legends, and maybe even a little ghostly gossip. Thanks for tuning in to part 3 of our California Haunted series. Until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and remember, if you hear disembodied footsteps at night, it's probably just your friendly neighborhood ghost telling you to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.